Are you ready to take your love for Spurs to the next level? Because we've got some exciting news for you. We're amping up our membership program so you can get even more of your Spurs fix. Plus, we're giving you ample opportunities to show off your Tottenham knowledge and win some epic prizes along the way.
As a Platinum member, you'll get access to exclusive shows, Q&A sessions, as well as FIFA content. You'll also have weekly chances to win We Are Tottenham TV merch in our weekly giveaways exclusively for you, our members.
But wait, there's more! We're introducing members-only giveaways during our watch-alongs, so not only can you watch the game with us, but you can also interact and win some incredible gifts along the way, talk about a win-win situation.
And if you're a die-hard Tottenham Hotspur fan, we've got something special just for you. Our frequent Spurs quizzes will test your knowledge and reward the most passionate fan with some amazing prizes. And if that's not enough, you can even be part of our weekly fan shows and have your say on everything happening at Tottenham Hotspur. It's like being in the locker room with the team. Well, not quite that, but you get the idea.
All of this epic content and exclusive benefits can be yours for just £12.99 per month. That's less than the price of a burger and a pint at the Tottenham Stadium. So don't wait, join our We Are Tottenham community today and take your love for Spurs to the next level. Trust us, you won't regret it. Come on, you Spurs.
What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here for another preview stream for you guys. We have Manchester United at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, 8:15 kickoff tomorrow night in a very big game once again. And it's our third manager of the season. It's his first game on Thursday night. It's Ryan Mason 2.0 era begins tomorrow night. He's been in the press conference. He's been talking about the team news and the need to have a big reaction on Thursday night. In terms of the team news, just Lloris is definitely out, isn't he? And Davis and Longley will be having late fitness tests. But how are you feeling coming into this game? How are you feeling with Ryan Mason on board?
It's hard to look. I don't know what to feel because obviously the way it's gone over the last since Conte's gone, it's been dreadful. When Conte's here, it was pretty bad. I think top four is gone for us. Can it get any worse? Well, yeah, we could drop out Europa League spots. We can drop out the Conference League spots, and be mid-table. So I guess technically. Because me personally, I do want Europa League going into next season. Me personally, if we were to pick a competition, obviously I want the Champions League. That's not going to happen. But I would like us to finish that Europa League spot. I would rather be out of Europe than be in the Conference League. So there's a fine balancing act we need to play. If we're going to be shit, we need to either be really shit or like just good enough to get Europa League. We can't be like shit enough to get Conference League, but like that level, that would be bad for me, in my opinion.
For me, with the Europa League, I mean, I prefer to be in it, but at the end of the day, I'm not too bothered if we're in it or we're out of it. Like, it's not going to make too much difference to me.
Yeah, I'm not like desperate to be in it, but I just think I think it's a competition that if we're in it for next season, I think it is a good competition that you could win. It does give me like a sense of glory if we could win that competition. I think Conference League is a bit different, in my opinion. Anyway, people might feel differently, but look, in terms of how I feel, I'm hoping that there's going to be a reaction. I've kind of lost faith in these players right now, considering how they conducted themselves on Sunday afternoon in a disgraceful manner. Those first 20 minutes were pathetic, and they, quite frankly, they've been pathetic for a long time, but especially the last few games they've ramped up. The last 20 minutes against Southampton, the last half an hour against Everton. The performance against Bournemouth at times, and especially on Sunday. So I don't believe they're going to be up for the fight to really take the game to Man United, which is what Mason's going to want, in my opinion. I think Mason's going to want to play more attacking. I think he's going to want to be more aggressive. I think he's going to want in front of the home crowd to show a bit more, to get the players to show a bit more passion, get them running a bit more, maybe take the game to Man United. But there are just a few question marks whether we're good enough to do that, whether the players are going to be motivated by Ryan Mason to put in a performance on Thursday, and what kind of Man United turns up, because Man United have been in wretched form away from home recently, but they're still a very good team with some very good players. So you obviously it's going to be a very tough game, even when we're at our best and we're playing well. It's going to be a tough game. So in this moment, especially, I do expect a reaction. I do expect Spurs to show a bit more fight, especially in front of the home fans. I do think, in general, our home form, to be fair, is definitely been a lot better than our away form. Albeit we did lose to Bournemouth at home last game, but it was a closer game with 3-2. We could have easily won that game as well. So I do think at home we've been better, and I do think we're tougher to play against. But off the back of that 6-1 defeat at Newcastle, it's not. I can understand people coming into this game just expecting another bad defeat, another bad performance.
Yeah, when you're looking at like Man U coming into it, their away form as well hasn't been great. Our home form has been fairly good, but on the flip side of that, they've won their last away game. We've lost our last home game. They had quite a convincing victory against Nottingham Forest, where we just got our pants literally pulled down at St James's Park. But look at that. 14 goals conceded in our last 5 games. It's just the absolute disgrace when they've only conceded 2. When you're looking at the defence of Manchester United, obviously a lot of injuries, Varane and Martinez. Does that fill you with confidence, or still it's just like you don't just trust these players at all?
I wouldn't say it fills me with confidence, but it definitely gives us a better chance, 100%, because Martinez and Varane have been vital for Man United, in my opinion. I think their defence is not at the same level without those players. They can definitely be got at. But there's one thing, a defence being vulnerable, but there's one thing, take advantage of that. And people don't realise when a team takes advantage of weak defence, that there's still good play there to be had to take advantage of it. And you still need to be good to do that, because these are still Premier League players who are competent at defending, but they're just not at the same level as the players that are missing. So if we're up for it and we can take the game to Man United and try and really exploit them at the back, it can be done. Sevilla have been having a terrible season in La Liga. They're mid-table, they were in a relegation scrap for a long time, and they took the game to Man United. They pressed really high. Look at the first goal, nicking the ball off Harry Maguire on the edge of the area. That shows you can force some mistakes. But what they were was brave. They were brave. They were aggressive. They believed. And we have to have those elements in our play if we're going to get a result in this game. And I do think it's possible, for as much as we've been terrible, I still think it's possible for us to get a result in this game. I really do. I don't think it's this we're doomed to fail kind of fixture. I do think it's possible for us, if we're careful enough if we're brave enough. Sorry, not careful. We're brave enough to go for a result. We can do it. But it's just, I am sick and tired of believing in these players, because I've put faith in them and they've time after time just thrown it back in our faces. So I struggle to believe that they're going to be brave in this scenario, because if they couldn't do it in the previous games, what makes me think it's going to be this game they're going to do it? But if we do somehow switch it up, I do think there's points there to be won on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of a different kettle of fish when you're talking about Sevilla and Spurs. I mean, Sevilla they've transformed their season in recent months and really have turned it around. And I think they're one of the performing sides in La Liga at the moment, with them playing really well, scoring quite a few goals, winning quite a lot of games. Spurs, on the other hand, I mean, we're just rolling over for everyone that we're playing at the moment. So I struggle to find where this win is coming from, and especially when you look at our past performances against Manchester United. I mean, we're conceding minimum of 2-3 goals a game against them. Obviously, before that we beat them 6-1. But I mean, every time we seem to come up against Man United, we seem sometimes to see good performances, but we can never get over the line, can we? In recent times, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, recently, the game at Old Trafford early in the season, we were actually on a high going into that game. I think we had our best start to the season. Then we went up to Old Trafford playing well, and they end up absolutely turning us over. And it was 2-0, but that was flattering for Tottenham. It could have been a lot worse than 2-0 in that game.
That's probably their best performance of the season.
Yeah, they were brilliant. It was a very complete performance. Before then, we've had some good games. Last season, we went to Old Trafford and played really well, but we were unlucky that Ronaldo just turned up and scored a hat-trick, and that was our undoing. Then we had El Sacico, which we lost 3-0, but you could argue we won that game, but we lost 3-0. That was a dreadful performance.
Well, actually, looking back on it now, can you say that we won that game?
Yeah, but I can still say that because it wouldn't have been better carrying on with Nuno? I don't think so.
Well, I think Nuno would have got sacked anyway at some point in the coming days or weeks after that. But Man U have gone to go get Erik ten Hag, and look how they're doing this season, and look how we're doing this season. So I mean, the trajectories of the two clubs again have gone in different directions.
Completely. And they got Ragnick, and then they ended up getting rid of Ragnick at the end because they didn't even like the way he was managing. And then look, they were patient. They got Ten Hag, and they end up doing quite well this season. To be fair to them, they've won a League Cup. So I guess if you're comparing Man United and Conte over the long term, Spurs and Man United over the long term, after that game, maybe you have a point. I think in the short term, I still think we got the better deal, but right now, 100%, Man United are on the right path for sure. They've got a way of playing, and they're looking good at the moment. And it's more how he's got them playing rather than the position that they're in, which has got Man United fans so excited because they've been in similar positions before without the same kind of belief that they seem to have right now. Yeah,
I was about to ask that. What is the difference now? Because everyone's saying that this is the best season for Manchester United since post-Fergie, right? And under Jose Mourinho, they finished second, they won a cup. But this season, they're going to finish probably third and win a cup, maybe even 2 cups. But let's say they finish third and win a cup. Why is this season being looked at in a better light than maybe the Mourinho season?
I think a lot of it is perception, but I just think a lot of it is he's got them playing a lot better football, which Man United fans want to see. He's got them playing aggressive, a brave style of play, which gets a lot of players forward. They're getting a lot of creative players in and around the penalty area. They're kind of rotating between Eriksen and Bruno, kind of in that double pivot role, and it's still functioning. Whereas before, they had constantly had years of Fred, McTominay in that role. Stodgy performances pretty much year in, year out. And even when they got big wins, that was obviously great at the time, but it never seemed like it was sustainable. Whereas now they're getting these good technical players on the pitch, getting them possession-based, on the front foot in most games. And yes, there's been hiccups this season, but I think by and large, I mean, do I think, like, factually it's been the best season since post-Fergie? In my opinion, no. But when it comes to them actually believing in like a future for Man United and a process, I think this is probably the most they've believed in a process since post-Fergie, for sure, just because it's the way they're playing, how they're getting the wide forwards involved. Then you can see that with some certain upgrades in certain positions, like up front, maybe one of the fullbacks, with certain upgrades, I think you can clearly see where this Man United side is heading. And whereas maybe previously before that, they were kind of getting the max out of like some like highly paid for players, and it wasn't enough to maybe get them to where they want to be. Whereas you can see now, if they can get some key signings, they could be a real force. And I think at the moment, that's what's making them believe.
Do you not think that maybe they're being overhyped a little bit in the media by the Man United fans? I mean, when you're looking at the talent that they do have there, I mean, they've got some world-class talents in Casemiro, Eriksen, Varane, Rashford, up-and-coming players like Antony. They've got Bruno Fernandes as well. I mean, they've got some top players there. So do you not think they should be doing better than what they're doing in the league?
Not necessarily, because I think Ten Hag's first season, they've got loads of good talent, but I think when you've had years of, you had Oli and you had Jose, I think it takes time to build a system and build a way of playing to perfect it. And I think they've got good players, and I think they will get even better the longer they stick with Ten Hag as well. Obviously, they're Man United, and with that bigger name, they're going to be, they're always overhyped. Every year they're overhyped, and I think there is an element to that as well. But I do believe that their style of play and how, I think it is very different to how it was in the previous years. So I do think people see improvement. I do think, if they lose this game on Thursday, I don't even think top 4 is guaranteed for them, to be honest. It's not from Tottenham, but from other teams. And I think they've still got a battle on their hands. And considering all the injuries, nothing's guaranteed. If they were to drop out the top 4, then I think there's a bigger discussion to be had. But if they do finish in the top 4 or top 3, and have a decent end to the season and have a trophy in the bank as well, I think that's a very good platform to build on going into next season.
Do you think they're as reliant on Rashford as we are on Harry Kane?
I would say,
I kind of feel like if you take Rashford out of Man United this year, and I don't even know if they make the top 4 or even close to the top 4.
I think they're very reliant on Rashford. I think that's absolutely right. I think he's really stepped up for them this season. You look at their other players, they spent 100 million on Antony. He's kind of settling into the Premier League, although Bruno's having a good season, in my opinion. Eriksen's having a good season. I think they're relying on him to score goals, but I don't think they're relying on him as a team, in my opinion. Like, they're still quite functioning. Like, for Tottenham, like, we can't function as a team that well, but Harry Kane can pull us out the bag. Whereas Man United can function as a team very well, but they're just very reliant on Rashford to score goals. But it doesn't mean their team doesn't play well without Rashford. They can still dominate the games and they can still force chances. But in terms of actually scoring the goals, they're going to struggle without someone with elite finishing like Rashford, because Antony, Sancho, Weghorst, Martial, all good players, but they don't have the finishing ability as someone like Marcus Rashford does right now, or they haven't settled fully like Antony just yet. So I would say as a team, they're not as reliant as like we're relying on Kane to play well for Tottenham to play well. I don't think they're relying on Rashford to play well for Man United to play well, is my point. But they are, in terms of goals, they are just as reliant on Rashford as we are on Kane in terms of full goals.
Yeah, and I think that kind of makes sense when you're looking at the last two games that Rashford didn't play. 2-0 win away at Nottingham Forest, which is an impressive result, seeing as Forest have been really good at home all season. And 2-2 at home to Sevilla, where they were 2-0 up for the majority of the game, and they just let it slip right at the end. And you're not exactly going to account that to Marcus Rashford being there or not being there. So, yeah, I think you're pretty spot on that one. I mean, he's got 15 goals and 4 assists this season. He is having his best season of his career, isn't he?
He's absolutely brilliant. And imagine there was talks of him leaving at points. You know, he wanted a new contract. Some Man United fans were happy to see the back of him. He's had injury problems. I remember during lockdown he had a really bad back injury. And it's maybe taken him a while to recover from that. But I think you could always see there's some star quality in Rashford. Not necessarily like, I don't think he's like he got great skills, or I don't think he's like there are some aspects where he's not amazing. But what he's really good at, his positioning's good, his timing of the runs is brilliant. He's great at running in behind, and what he has is a dynamite shot. His finishing is absolutely top class. Is so powerful. He can get them in the corners as well. In terms of being a wide forward, I think only Son is probably a better finisher than someone like Rashford in the Premier League right now from that position. He's so deadly, and I think that comes probably from his time as a striker. I think he uses that composure in front of goal when he gets in that position. He's not one of those who's going to like beat his man and create chances and crosses from that position, but he will be absolutely a difference maker when it gets into the when he gets an opportunity to score. He really is that difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. If you bring on the predicted lineup for Manchester United, extensive injury list with Martinez, Van der Beek, Varane, McTominay, Bruno and Garnacho, which are all pluses for us, to be honest, being out maybe Van der Beek aside. But when you're looking at this team, it's still a star-studded team. I mean, it's a makeshift back four, really, with Wan-Bissaka, Lindelof, Shaw and Dalot. There's a potential for Maguire to play there, but we do think Shaw. Eriksen and Casemiro in the middle of the park. I mean, that's going to be a key area, isn't it? Casemiro has been absolutely brilliant, apart from when he is on the pitch for Manchester United. Eriksen is one that's always going to break my heart, because, I mean, we were sitting here time and time again in the summer talking about how much we want to see Eriksen back at the club. Didn't happen, ended up at Manchester United, and they're reaping the benefits for it for sure. Antony is also an interesting one, because he didn't come in and hit the ground running completely, but I feel like Antony, the more and more the season progresses and the more we're coming to the end of the season, you're seeing him get more used to the English football, aren't you?
I agree with that, and I think last few games I'm actually seeing him getting a lot more involved in the game. I thought he started like a house on fire. I think he scored in 3 consecutive games at the start of the season, and then he kind of dropped off a bit, and I felt like he didn't understand how to be involved in all facets of the game. I felt like he only wanted to be involved when it was on the right hand side and he was able to take people on. Other than that, he seemed like very disinterested, and a lot of the time he was like he was just very anonymous for a large part of the season. He couldn't get involved in the game, but I think something's clicked recently over the last few games, and he's definitely now starting to get a lot more involved, starting to get a lot more shots off, taking people on, being a lot more effective. And I felt like maybe at the beginning of the season he always wanted to do a trick and he just wanted to be flashy, and now
flicks and all that.
Yeah, and now he's a lot more interested in creating chances, a lot more interested in getting shots off and being effective in the final third, and that's doing his game a world of good, because he's got a lot of qualities. He's fast, he's got a really good accuracy on that left foot, he's got really good close control as well, so I think he's starting to use those qualities a lot more effectively, rather than always just just trying to do tricks and stuff, which maybe he was guilty of before.
Another player as well who joined them in January, Marcel Sabitzer. I've been really impressed with him since he's joined, and obviously Rashford on the left, and then Martial up front, who really hasn't done much at all this season when he's been on the pitch. But moving on to Spurs, we're going into a bit of an unknown tomorrow with Ryan Mason 2.0. He has been speaking in the press conference, and he's saying he's putting his hat in the ring pretty much for the managerial job for next season. He's saying he's completely ready. What would your opinions on it be if he does do really well from now to the end of the season, and we do finish the season really strongly, and he gets the job?
How would I feel if he gets the job? Obviously, I would be behind him. I wouldn't be super excited about it because I don't know if someone like Ryan Mason at his age with his experience is the right person to head Tottenham into a new era and the right person to trust with a project. If Ryan Mason is going to work, you need to go through the Arteta route. You need to literally, whatever shit, unless you're literally going to get relegated or like you're finishing bottom half, you need to literally ride out the shit and you need to stick by him by any means necessary and just go for it. Now, with someone like Arteta, Arsenal had that trust with it. Whatever, maybe it was because he won that FA Cup early on, but he got that trust from the board. So even though they went 8 games on an 8-game losing streak, they kept him on. Even though they had consecutive 8th place finishes, they kept him on. Now, if we hired Mason and in January he goes on an 8-game losing run, do you think he's going to stay? No chance. Absolutely no chance. We're going to sack him. So I like, unless you're going to go through that route where you're literally sticking by him, I don't see the Spurs board doing that. I don't see the Spurs board having the patience with him where it could take 2 or 3 years to really get where someone like Mason could bring us, because he's going to have to learn on the job as well. That's the thing. So I think that's why I wouldn't do it, because I don't think we're in a position to be patient with someone like Mason. Whereas Nagelsmann, I think, even let's say Nagelsmann also went on an 8-game losing run. I think because of his experience and because of his previous, that could earn him a bit more patience than someone like Mason, who at the first sign of trouble, I wouldn't be surprised if his ownership kick him out straight away.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that with any manager to come in at the first sign of trouble. They're usually gone anyway, no matter who they are. To be honest, and that goes for Jose Mourinho, Antonio Conte, or Ryan Mason. You know, whoever it may be. But in terms of like maybe the system that we're going to be playing tomorrow, who knows what we're going to be playing? But we do have our hands tied behind our back with injuries a little bit. Potentially Davis and Longley could step in, but how do you see us setting up tomorrow?
It's a great question. Mason was asked about this in his press conference. He said, I think from my point of view at the moment is to get some sort of energy and some sort of positivity back in the group, but not only the group, the fans and the club have to be realistic, as when you have 2 training sessions or 3 training sessions before 2 games, it's hard to change a great deal, but I would hope and expect towards the end of the season that everyone, not only inside but outside, will see my stamp and our stamp on the group. So it doesn't inspire me much confidence there that there's going to be big changes in terms of formation wise. Obviously we did go to a back 4 last time, that was it massively failed, so I guess the expectation would be we go back to a back 3 on Thursday. What I would say is, for all the talk of the back 4 failing, and definitely it did, but I don't think the back 4 failed because we went to a back 4. In essence, I think it was a big part of the problem. I think our defenders were massively exposed. But I also think when you go to a back 4 and you're telling the team to be more aggressive, the whole point of it is you get the team higher up the pitch, you have more players around the players in the front line to keep possession and play around the opposition, play around their press, get the ball out wide. And when we do lose possession, because you're higher up the pitch, you can pounce and you can be aggressive and you can hound the opposition higher up the pitch, so that if you make fouls there, then it's a little further away from goal. If you make tackles, you're closer to the opposition's goal. Now, the big problem on Sunday wasn't that we went to a back 4, is that we went to a back 4 and we didn't press high, we weren't aggressive, we allowed all the time on the ball, and the defenders had absolutely no, and because of that, the defenders had absolutely no defensive mindset at all, and it was a complete shit show. But just because of that, for me, I don't think it's because we went to a back 4 was a shit show. It's how we use that back 4 and how we use that formation, which was the massive issue and caused that absolute disaster. So for me, if someone like Ben Davies, I don't know if Mason wants to go to a back 4, but if someone like Ben Davies is fit for Thursday evening, it wouldn't totally shock me if he went with it again and just went with Porro, Romero, Dyer, and Davis in a back 4, and drop Perisic, and maybe went for 4-2-3-1. Yeah, But we know Mason likes Dyer, so I
Yeah.
don't think that's going to happen.
I mean, if
I
we are,
would, but because didn't Mason bring in Dyer straight away as soon as I think when Mourinho got sacked, I think he brought Dyer straight in.
yeah, I mean, I don't
Dyer
think we
might-
had too much options at the time. Potentially, maybe Joe Rodon as well, but
We had Toby, we had Sanchez, we had Rodon. I think everyone was like having rotation. I think because during that season, Dyer was playing well for parts, and then there was a part I think just around when Mourinho was sacked where we dropped him. And
Yeah, I
then
mean,
we dropped him, and then Mason brought him back in.
yeah, I think we played a Dyer and Toby back in the back two, didn't we? When we in the cup final.
Yeah.
So I think that when you're looking at those four defenders, I mean, I probably would have picked those two as well. I mean, I probably would have picked Dyer over Rodon and Sanchez too. But now we do have more variations of centre-backs, albeit they're not that much better. But if we're going to go for a back four, I would like to see Davis at left back, for sure. And I would like to see Longley and Romero alongside each other.
If he really wants to, try and do something, he could do a 4-2-3-1. Skip and Højbjerg in the pivot, Kulusevski in the hole with Danjuma or Richarlison and Son with supporting Kane. That could be something interesting. And yes, you could argue again, we could be completely cut open at the back, and that's a possibility. If I feel like, to be honest, whatever defence we play, that's going to happen. Obviously, it's not going to happen to the same extent. It happened on Sunday. That was just atrocious, 100%. But I feel like Mason wants to play a back four. I feel like he'll be scared into playing a back four after what happened on Sunday. So because of that, he might take the easy option and just go back to a back three and try and deal with that situation. But I think he probably wants to play a back four in his perfect scenario.
I think probably everyone wants to play a back four, but the reality is we don't have defenders comfortable enough to play a back four. That's just the reality of the situation. I mean, Perisic, not good enough in a back four. Dyer, not good enough in a back four. Porro, probably not good enough in a back four. Question marks over Romero as well. Question marks over Longley. So, I mean, there's question marks over all our defenders in a back four, but there's also question marks against all our defenders in a back five.
Exactly, that's the problem. So it's
but at
going
least in a back five, they got that more protection.
That's true. That's true. So I guess it all depends on what Mason, because I think Mason wants these players to be able to give a reaction, and to do that, he needs to get these players closer to the Man United players so they can put in challenges and get close to them and get near to them. And it's all about what formation can facilitate that. A lot of the time in this season, this back five has been us sitting low. It's been us being very passive and waiting for the opposition and not being aggressive. Whereas logically in a back four, you get more players up the pitch, you get more players in the centre park, and in theory, you can get closer to the opposition. You can force more mistakes out of them, and we've seen Man United are susceptible to mistakes. You press them high, so I guess it depends. It depends what formation he sees best. I think it's a bit up in the air. It's 50-50 which one he can go, in my opinion. Some people will probably say he's definitely going to go back to a back three. I think he's probably considering both, in my opinion.
I think it's more likely we do see the back three, to be honest. I think that I can't see him being stupid. I don't think he's going to be stupid in his first game, and I think he wants to give us the best chance of having that defensive solidity, and I think we just don't have the players for a back four. So I do think we are going to go back three tomorrow. It just begs the question, are we going to go 3-4-3 or 3-5-2?
I think 3-5-2 allows us to be a bit more aggressive, in my opinion, than a 3-4-3, because the 3-4-3 there's just not enough cover in the middle at the moment, and these defenders can't step out, it seems, from the defence to help. It seems Dyer does that, but he's with very not very mixed results. He did well against Man City, but in other games it's been terrible when he stepped out. So I think you probably 3-5-2, but the question is, Sarr came off after 20 minutes. Is it Sarr who's going to come back in? Does Kulusevski make one of the three midfielders? From that point of view, I don't know if he wants to do that or if he wants to just want to put players in their proper positions. And if he wants to do that, then Kulusevski has to go back out wide, or a Danjuma or something. So I think he would probably want the extra body in midfield, but whether the players allow that, I don't know. So he's got a balancing act to what he wants to the players he has. I think he's got a careful balancing act to contend with going into Thursday. And I don't envy him, because either thing you can see trouble, to be honest. But I guess it's about what is he going to do? Is he going to be brave and go with what he wants, or is he going to play safe and go with what players fit what position?
I think because it's the first game of his kind of 6 games until the end of the season, because he's only had a couple of days training with them, I think he's going to go more safe, to be honest. And I think it makes more sense to go that way as well. And then maybe, against Liverpool, you probably go the same way. But then when we start to see Palace come here and Brentford come here and, have a bit more easier games, let's say, we might see us go a bit more adventurous.
I'm obviously I don't know. I don't know his mind. I think because he wants a reaction. I don't know if I reckon he's more likely to go with what he wants, because I think he's seen what it's been like playing the whole season with all these back three systems, more defensive, and I think because he wants a reaction in front of his home support, he's gonna say, look, we're gonna play aggressive, we're gonna put in challenges, we're gonna take the game to Man United, and we're gonna be positive.
But you can still do that in a back three, though.
You can do that in a back three, but whenever we've played the back three, we haven't been able to do that.
But that is because that is Conte and Stellini's version of the back three. Like when you look at the way Sporting Lisbon played against Arsenal in that back three, full out attacking, wing backs proper pushed up, creative play, midfielders being super aggressive. I mean, that's what I wanted to see in a back three for Spurs, and we never really saw that at the back end of last season, but we haven't seen that this season. So I think that's the way we want to play the back three. It just hasn't worked out for one reason or another. So maybe Mason can provide a few tactical tweaks in a back three and make us more aggressive and more attacking and more on the front foot.
Yeah, that's, I think, the perfect goal, in my opinion. But it's all about what's his preferred formation. I think when Mason took over 2 years ago, he wanted to play in a back four, and that was his preferred formation, and that's what we ended up doing. So will we want to revert back to that, or is he going to try and adjust his philosophy with the current formation that we've been playing? That's the big question mark. I would like to see him be brave, to be honest, and I know people won't want to hear it after our performance on Sunday, because we played a back four and we got absolutely annihilated. But I would like to see him be brave and go with what he wants to do, rather than like if he wants to play a certain formation and he wants to play a certain way, I'd rather he does that and gets whatever players he can that fits that way, rather than placating his squad with going with a formation that we've struggled with a lot of this season in terms of playing it in an aggressive and attacking way. I'd rather him, if he wants an extra body in midfield, I'd rather he does that, like puts that extra body in midfield, rather than and play that way that he wants. And that's what I think he wants to do, but I don't know for sure, obviously. Be interesting. I think it's completely up in the air. At the moment, I don't know what way he's going to play.
Look, I think in an ideal situation, I agree with you, but I don't think we're in an ideal situation, and we're at where we're at. And I just feel like if we are going to play a back four, it is going to be complete suicide, to be honest, against a Manchester United side who will know how to hurt us with big talent going forward, with Rashford, Antony, Sabitzer, Eriksson, Weghorst, Martial. They've got such talent going forward. So I just feel like in a back four, we'll just get eaten alive. So I think you're right. He'll want to play the system that he wants to play, but I don't think he'll be stupid enough just to play it just because that's what the system he wants to play, if you know what I mean.
But I always feel like as well, when you're going through a half, if you're not fully committing to one or the other, that can also cause problems. So then the players aren't quite sure how the team want to play, what position to be in all the time in certain situations. And I understand that there's only 2 training sessions or 3 training sessions in between the Newcastle game on Thursday, so it's tough to implement a whole system in such a short space of time. So that's probably what he's thinking about as well. But I also feel like that, but either way, it can cause issues. So, but basically what I'm just trying to say is if we do go with the back four on Thursday, I'm just hoping that he would have coached it in a different way where it can work a lot better than it did on Sunday. And I think it is possible, as much as people will see evidence of Sunday and think, okay, that means we can never play a back four ever again with these players. And that's a fair assessment to make, to be honest, after that performance. But I do think if you play the back four, even with those defenders, in a different way, I think it can work. I think you can. I think you can make it work in a different way with even with those players. If you get them to have more composure on the ball, play it around the opposition, get forward a lot more, try and be a more aggressive, force mistakes. We didn't do any of that on Sunday. We just let Newcastle have the ball, and obviously if we let Man United have the ball, the same thing will happen, of course. But if Mason can get them to be more aggressive, get them to break up the play, be in their faces, get higher the pitch, force mistakes, I think we can have a better performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, a better performance is just losing 3 or 4-1 instead of 6-1.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably going to lose anyway, but either way, in my opinion. But I do think if we play this right, I think there is a way we can get points out in this game.
Well, having said that, what is your score prediction coming into it?
I said 2-2. And I don't think that's a good result for Tottenham, to be honest. 2-2. As much as obviously avoiding defeat, you could argue it's not bad considering we lost 6-1 away to United, Newcastle. I think 2-2 just because Man United are not great away from home. They've got susceptible defence. I do think there's going to be a bit of reaction from Tottenham in terms of being more aggressive and getting in their faces. So I do think we can force mistakes, and with the quality, I'm hoping there'll be a couple of occasions we can punish them. But I do think our defence, whatever way you slice it, back 4, back 5, they're not good enough right now. They're too open, and I don't see them being able to contain Man United side with Rashford back. Even without Bruno, they've got Eriksen, they've got Sabitzer, they've got players who are able to open us up, and they've got the strikers in Rashford who are able to finish them. So I do see us concede a couple goals, but I've gone for us to score a couple. So 2-2.
I just got a feeling that we will come out the traps quite well tomorrow night and maybe start with a bit of a fast pace. But I feel like once the game settles in, Man United will just overawe us. Their quality will shine through, and maybe the nerves will start settling in for Tottenham as well. So, look, I think we could get an early goal, but I do ultimately think we will lose the game, and I'm going to go for 3-1 to Manchester United, as much as it pains me to say it. But that is our score predictions. That is our match preview. Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on the game and what your score predictions are. Let's get on to the fans now. It's time for you guys to have your say. Just before we do, we got a super chat from Jory saying, die in a back 4 equals suicide. Mason is a Levyite.
Yeah.
But let's go on. If you do want to come on and have your say, link is in the description to come on. But let's bring on Michael. Yes, Michael,
Hey,
how's it going, man?
Could have been worse, right? We've just had pretty much the worst 48 hours of the club's history, right? So
yeah, what could be worse, Michael? What could be worse?
Right? I honestly have no clue. I honestly I wish I could give you an answer, but honestly, I think like whatever worst could have happened, if you don't include like something tragic happening, it happened, right? It's absolutely, we got our caretaker manager sacked, you know, Pochettino is going to Chelsea most likely, although there are some reports that maybe it's not going to go through, but whatever, right? It's absolutely a devastating 48 hours for the fans mostly, right? If you look at it, it's mostly for the fans, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. If Mason does have a heavy defeat on Thursday, do you reckon he faces the sack on Friday?
Oh God! The only way I would accept that is if they had a proper coach in his place, right? So if they sacked or relieved him of his duties, whatever you want to call it, right? And then brought in Nagelsmann or whoever else, right? Then I'm fine with it, right? Because that's appointing a proper coach. But I think whatever happens, Mason will be here at the end of the season, and I think we will try to appoint a coach as soon as the season ends, right? That would be at least the most logical thing to do for me. But like F logic, we aren't doing logical things in this club, so
Michael, talk to me about Mason 2.0. What system do you reckon we're going to see tomorrow night?
First of all, I would like to say you guys were absolutely spot on with the back 4 and back 5. I often try to say it like formation is only like how the players start on the pitch, right? the way they play is completely different. You can play an extremely defensive back four, more defensive than a back five, right? You can play an extremely attacking back three with wing backs pushing up the pitch, right? It's all things that matter are the setup and what the players are told to do, right? And you could clearly see with the Newcastle game that our players forgot that they are playing in a back four. We had two extremely attacking wing backs, and we played like kind of a high line, but none of them like returned back when defending, right? And this is just a failure in terms of coaching, right? So it's as much as it was, like as Sim said, kind of a formation fault. It's also like the players and the coaching staff fault, right? That the match against Newcastle doesn't mean that we cannot play back four. It just has to be set up differently, right? We have to have a different personnel in that back four, as you boys mentioned, Davies as left back, right? And then with Davies at left back and hopefully Langlet as left-sided centre back in the two, you can play Poro on the right? Because then you can do the whole like shifting thing, right? I think it's called an elbow tactic or whatever it
Hybrid.
was called, right? Yeah, a hybrid. So you can do a back four, right? And I think we will try to do it, but not against United. I think Mason will revert back to a back three against United and Liverpool, because I think, first of all, he didn't have enough time to try to, implement his version of a back four. And second of all, I think when you look at how the game against Newcastle went, I said I legit think our players sometimes forgot that they were playing a back four, because like when you look at some of the goals, Dyer was playing centrally and Romero was playing on the right when they were countering us, right? And there was no one on the left because Perisic was so high up the pitch, right? So I think he will revert back to a back three, just so those players can get back into what they were used to playing under counter, right? So that they don't have to think about as much. They don't have to think as much about where they are, right? It's just like reflexes and muscle memory. I think this is what will happen, right? But as you said, I think he will try to implement a back four against some of the teams lower down the table when we play Palace, Brentford. Maybe not against Villa. We will see about that, right? But yeah, Palace, Brentford. I think we will see a back four then.
Is there any players you reckon who might get a look in tomorrow who maybe has been struggling for minutes or from the start? Is anyone any surprises, do you think, or do you think the injuries are kind of forcing his hand in terms of who he can start?
I think there is not much room to move players around. We like the most players that could be at contention for the starting 11 are almost all of them are injured. So I think we will see the same 11. Uh, I mean the same 11 as we played at 3-4-3, right? So I think it will be Davis, Dyer, Romero, Perisic, Poro, Højbjerg and Skip, Kulusevski, Son, Kane. I think this is how we will come out. But I think Mason will be more likely to bring on players like Danjuma and Richarlison, especially when you compare it to Conte times, right? I think if Son gets tired or Kulusevski doesn't perform again, I don't think he should be scared to bring on Danjuma and Richarlison, right? I think if Højbjerg doesn't play well, I think he should be encouraged to bring on Pape Sarr, right? Like let's be honest, guys. Right? We aren't fighting for top four anymore, right? It's pretty much gone. We have one game in hand compared to Newcastle, who are 6 points ahead of us, right? And better goal difference. So I don't think unless Man United completely capitulate and Villa doesn't play well and Brighton doesn't play well, maybe there is an 1% completely out of the blue chance that we finish in top four. But considering where we are in the table, I think he shouldn't be scared to make some changes, make some changes also during the game, substitutions, right? Because if you want to gain experience and see how substitutions impact the game, this is the time to do so, right? So I won't blame Mason if he brings on Papesar for Højbjerg in the 60th minute, right? I won't be like cussing him out, because let's be honest, I don't predict us to win against Liverpool. I don't predict us to win against United. As much as it hurts me, as like similarly to what you said, Ben, right? I never want to predict Tottenham to lose, but I said unless they capitulate, unless United capitulates, right? I don't think there is a real sorry, real possibility that we will win that game.
Are you bothered about Europa League qualification or Conference League qualification?
I'm kind of on the fence with it. On one hand, I'm completely not bothered, right? If we finish 8th, I actually think this might be better for us. I think on yesterday's panel you said, Ben, that it would give whoever the coach is, it would give them possibility to focus on the league, focus, on the domestic competitions, and also to not like to have a much easier schedule, right? No traveling, no midweek games except for the cup games. I think it's really useful if you want to like really kind of reset the club, I would say, right? When you really want to give one season off, it will hurt like a bitch, because we've said plenty of times, right? This season is a write-off. If we aren't in Europe and there is a new coach, then the next season will be a write-off, right? It's hard to find passion then to be so as supportive as we can be, right? But on the other hand, the reason why I said I'm on the fence, right? Because on the other hand, I want to see us in Europe, right? I like European games, right? And even if it's not Champions League, it's Europe, right? There are some plenty like amazing, big teams in Europa League, like not the biggest ones, not Bayerns and Barcelonas, right? But Lazio, Roma, all those type of teams, Lille, Olympique Marseille, Athletic Bilbao, whatever. Those are also huge clubs, right? That and playing them for me is a prestigious thing, right? It's fun to watch Spurs play against the biggest clubs in Europe, right? So in that sense, I would like us to be in Europe, but I think the more like practical and good thing for our club will be to end up like 7th. Okay, I want us to be either in Europa League or 8th. I don't want us to be in Conference League, because the things that I said about playing big clubs don't apply to Conference League, right? Let's be honest, my Polish teams are in Conference League, so it's not a big competition.
All right, Michael, what's your score prediction tomorrow?
I don't think it will be like a complete drubbing or whatever, right? I think we will narrowly lose, in my opinion. I would go for a 2-1. And like, people need to remember, United aren't in the greatest of forms either. It's a mid-off again, or kind of an El Sakiko, but not really like it were back then, right? So
El Sakiko without the sacking.
Yeah, El Sakiko without the sacking, pretty much, right? So I think I would go for a 2-1 to United, although I don't think it will be a one-sided game. And listen, if they surprise me, kudos to them. Like if our team actually manages to pull their shit together and do something nice, then yeah, I'm of course I'm all for it, right? I want to see us win, but I just don't think it will happen.
Yeah, you and me both, Michael. But thank you so much for coming on today, as always, and we'll speak to you next time.
Of course, pleasure, guys. Bye.
Let's go on to our next guest. Goes by the name of Raj. How you doing, Raj?
Yeah, I'm good. Just recovering from that result, 6-1. Still not over it.
Yeah, I think it'll take a long time to get over that, won't it?
Yeah. We've had quite a few of these results this season. Sheffield United one, still getting over that, and then pops up this result. So,
you ready for Mason 2.0?
Yeah, Mason 2.0. It's the third manager this season. I can't remember since when was the last time we've had a manager that started the season and finished the season. So
it was Maurizio.
It's been so long.
Yeah, it was Pochettino.
No, Pochettino, yeah.
Yeah, it was that yeah, after that, when he got us to the Champions League final, after that,
Yeah.
it's just been sacking after sacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Mason, I think he was obviously the obvious choice. We haven't got a manager, obviously, in place. They're talking about Nagelsmann or Company, or so. He's the obvious choice. And it's just about what he can get out, really, of the next 6 games. I mean, I can't really sense a bounce. Um, you know, we saw Villa go above us yesterday, and it looks like Liverpool will catch us. So it's really 8th place we're looking at. Tomorrow, what formation he goes? I would like to see good old traditional 4-4-2.
Oh yeah.
I was thinking Fraser will start. I think. I was thinking maybe Tanganga right back if he's fit. Tanganga, Romero, Longley, and Davis at left back. Those 4. Then 2 wingers. I thought Perisic and Danjuma on the right, with Skippy and Højbjerg in the middle, and up front, the 2 up front with Son and Kane.
You know, I actually wouldn't mind that, to be honest. I think that might give us a bit more defensive solidity with Davis and Tanganga on the flanks instead of a Porro and Perisic. I actually don't mind that idea.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind playing Porro or right wing, you know, either him or Danjuma on the right, and just go for it, I think. And like I say, it's just what he can get out of these players, because I think they've just completely. I mean, what I saw at Newcastle was just complete capitulation. I mean, I've never seen. I couldn't believe 5 goals in 20 minutes. I was watching your watch along as well, and I saw you guys. So silent. It was like, it was just. You just had to laugh at one point, you know, and I just can't. I just see, you know. I mean, it's almost like they're on holiday. So, I mean, Dyer's got to be dropped.
Yeah.
I mean, he was awful.
To be honest, no one on that team at Newcastle deserves to keep their starting spot. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really. I think the best we can get is possibly a draw. I think Man United, unless Man United are completely knackered from their semi-final, that we might just catch them on a bad day. But otherwise, I think maybe 1-1 or 2-2, something like that.
And, well, at least you're not predicting a loss, Raj.
Yeah. I mean, just hope to see a good turnaround. Really, could do with some positivity, but
we're trying to find some. It's a struggle at the moment.
Yeah. I wonder what Daniel Levy said to that. I heard he spoke to the player committee on the players committee. I didn't know there was a players committee, but there is. On his statement,
he probably said to them, "Oh, is this manager giving you problems now? Let's get rid of this one and let's bring in the next one."
Yeah, I would. That players committee. Where was that players committee when we were 2-0 down, 3-0 down against Newcastle?
Exactly.
Couldn't they get together and sort it out amongst themselves? You know, on the pitch, the committee. You know, I think the committee's Dyer, Kane, Lloris, and Højbjerg. 4 of them. They were all on the pitch.
Yeah, Ali Gold actually suggests
this is what
that Skip is part of it as well.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, this is what irritates me. They got these so committee like that, and they couldn't sort it out. And that's what I mean. Then there's no leaders. There's no that leadership. It's really costing us. You know, it's like to see a problem on the pitch, and your leaders can't sort it out. They just let it 2-0. They don't. So forget what the manager's saying. Let us sort it out on the pitch. You know, we're getting Newcastle are coming at us. They're playing balls down the line. We're getting cut apart. Let's get together. Let's pull together. And this is what Conte was talking about, wasn't he? When he was saying they don't play as a team. They don't want to fight. They don't want to fight in tough situations. They just they're selfish. And everything he said is coming to fruition.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And,
But Raj, thank you so much for coming on today. Good points made as always, and we'll speak to you next time.
See you soon,
yeah,
Raj.
cheers, boys. Come on, you
Come on, you
Spurs.
Spurs. Come on. Who do we have next? Oh, look, he's even got his army camouflage ready for Thursday. Let's bring him on.
Yes,
Yes,
it's the
Brian.
dress rehearsal. It's the dress rehearsal. How it's protest. It's Merry Protest Eve to everyone. How you both doing, and everyone in the chat?
Yeah, healthy. The main thing.
Good,
How you
good.
doing?
Before we start, good. Before I start getting into this, Simeon, I just want to say, honestly, listen to you this morning, or I saw it on YouTube this morning. You're on Radio 5. Bravo, my brother. Bravo.
Thank you, Brian.
And I spoke to Ben yesterday evening. I have to say, that show you did yesterday, bravo to you, and Last Word of Spurs, the two guys from Last Word of Spurs. I only got to really listen to the ENIC debate part. And
How convenient, Brian.
well, no, mate. I spoke to you about this. I was at work. I didn't even realise it was on, and then I was like 20 minutes behind you. And I came in when you were talking about the whether you want Spurs to win, lose, draw, or how do you feel about the upcoming fixtures. And then you conveniently started talking about ENIC. When I conveniently tuned in, you started conveniently talking about it for me, like you're
I sensed
conveniently
that you were
talking now
watching,
on my
Brian.
lunch break. There you go.
I
Your
sensed
ears
that you were
were
watching.
your ears weren't warm. They're on fire.
Exactly.
So yes, so just like big up to you both for putting that show on. It was a really good one.
Ready for Mason 2.0?
Which will become Mason 3.0 if comes. Apparently he wants the job, so who knows? It's going to be like David Pleat, isn't it, with Ryan Mason over the next few years? Just when we sack a manager, just put him in.
Yeah.
There'll probably be so many more versions of Ryan Mason than Fast and Furious within about 5-6 years. You never know, but we see, don't we? We see. But yeah, what's there to talk about?
Well, let me ask you this. Mason has put his hat in the ring to become permanent manager at Tottenham. Do you reckon there's a chance that could happen for you, Brian?
Oh, God, yeah. I reckon if he was to do very, very well and it was the cheaper option, you bet the hierarchy would think about it. Whether I think they would go ahead with it is another thing, because I think there would be even more outcry than there is now. And that's no disservice to Ryan Mason. But if Ryan Mason does get this job permanently, then we know we've got another yes man, three bags full man who will, and that's the only, if he came in and won all his games, which he won't, then you look at it and say, do you know what? You may have a shout, but I don't want to see any man that come in that's just going to go, yes, Daniel, no, Daniel, three bags full, Daniel. That's not what we need at this club right now. So for me, that would be a huge no. But like I said, Ryan Mason, we know he bleeds blue and white. He is a Tottenham man, but no, just not for me, no matter what he does with the remaining 6 games.
Do you think we'll see something different tomorrow night in terms of setup and formation?
I think I was about to say I really hope so, but if he goes back 4, then I'm really worried, because we just don't have, unless they people have been saying, if Davies is back, I'd have Davies playing at left back over Perisic every single day of the week, give a bit more defensive stability. Let's face it, Perisic is there for his attacking qualities, and even that has gone a bit off the radar from recent times. So I think in a game like this, we need to have a recognised left back playing. So if he is fit, or we can get him on, I think you have to start with him. It's just a shame Emerson ain't there, because I'd have him over Porro, because again, the same reason, if it is a back 4. And I want to see Foster in goal without question, and I'll be saying that for the rest of the season. I want to see Sarr start some more, and I think Kulusevski needs to be dropped. Listen, we're all big here, and Son took a lot of heat, or people that said drop Son took a lot of heat, whether it was on form or whatever. But if we're basing this on form, Kulusevski should not be on that pitch. He shouldn't be.
And Danjuma, you would like to see him start instead of Kulu, or maybe even Porro over there.
But yeah, I mean, I think someone was mentioning, I think it might have been one of your shows yesterday or on a show, I did see that being mentioned. He was a right winger to start, wasn't he? So put it this way, we know he can go forward and do that. And put it this way, it's an option, isn't it? It's an option to say, like, if you do drop him, do I stick with Danjuma? Do I put Richarlison where he doesn't want to be? Or I can use this really attacking fullback that can get forward and can deliver balls in and try that. But then you do that, who do you put right back?
Tanganga, potentially?
Yeah, and hope he has a Man City game from last season.
Yeah.
We can only hope.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the reaction that we're going to see on Thursday, do you expect a reaction to what happened on Thursday, or do you think these players have just given up?
That's a real tough question. I mean, they best hope that they put on a reaction, because if you look at it this way, Sim, when it was the Milan game, and I'm talking about the home game, do you remember they gave out the rallying cry, come on lads, all get together, and the crowd, we need you to be the 12th man, we need this. Well, the Spurs faithful did that, but after 20 minutes it was like, the football was just so dull, so boring, going nowhere, that it killed the crowd. Now, if they don't come out and don't, I mean, you know exactly what I'm doing during that game, and a lot of people will be doing during that game. But if they don't get off to a fast start and look like they're on the front foot, then this place is going to change very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. They've got to come out fighting.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, us and the fans need it. The stands need it. What are you feeling about the support surrounding all the protests and Levy out and all that kind of stuff doing the rounds on social media?
So when we look at this, Ben and Sim, you know that I speak with you very, very regularly, both on here and privately. And whenever we do talk, this conversation is never far off, or Tottenham in general. And last year at the training ground, it was all bubbling up, and we started getting numbers. But then it happened. Then obviously, Ben, as you know, when we went to Palace, you just sensed something was different, and then you were at Fulham, and then you could sense. Well, the reaction to what happened on Sunday has been absolutely extraordinary. Has been absolutely. It is non-stop. It is absolutely relentless. And the thing I am taking pride for, or not, that I'm taking some kind of hope from, that this is going to be the one. Because remember, we weren't going to go because of it being midweek, but that Newcastle performance, full star hand, and we're happily doing it. Is I have had a lot of people message me, or not even message me personally, which a lot have, but have said, you know what, that was the breaking point. And people that have been on the fence or quiet have been speaking out. There's been a big swing, I think, that you could tell on social media, with a lot of people saying, right, that's it. I mean, I even saw on some of the comments that on the video that I did on the match reaction, where people were saying Daigle was right all along, or I didn't like Daigle before because he keeps going on. But do you know what I mean? There's just been a lot more support for the protests. And for me personally, which I value the protest response more than anything, for me, that's couldn't give a monkey's about me. But it just looks like it has gone up a few gears this time, and we'll have to wait and see. But the good thing is, a lot of people. There was a guy, and I will mention it. When we did the Man City one, I can't remember his name. SME or SMZ. Someone did a video of the protest that weren't very, very big, and slammed us. But he went on.
Oh, it was
Tottenham away.
Smith.
That's the one. I could never remember what he's under, but he actually messaged on Tottenham away, going, "Still, do you know what? I'm really, really sorry for what I did. I apologise to you. Blah blah blah. I'll be there Thursday."
Really?
So yeah. So there's some big, like, you guys will be there, and this is what it is. You know, like I said, it's what the bit that I'm taking from it, and the bit that I'm taking forward to think that this could be the one, is there are a lot of people that weren't prepared to protest, or didn't think Levy out was the way forward. And I don't mean Levy out as in my group of protests, like as in the whole thing getting him out. But that Newcastle performance and the sacking and just their social media nonsense, I think this time has swung a lot of people. And that is the most important thing. Listen, we all know the people that are staunch Levy out and are relentless. Like I said to you yesterday, Ben, I suffer from Levy Tourette's. It's terminal with me. It will never ever change. But there are a lot of people now that weren't either, like I've said, that have now started coming up and saying, "Do you know what? We need to do something. We need to do something." And that's the most important thing. It's getting those people in the middle. Getting those people there are fine. They're there. They're bankers. They're they're going to do something. It's those people that are on the fence or are really impressed with the board or happy with the job they're doing. Them moving over is the main key point that I'm taking from this right now, and there has been a lot of them. And then we just have to wait and see what happens tomorrow.
In terms of tomorrow, do you expect the Levy out chants to be vocal tomorrow in the stadium? Do you expect there to be loud chants, or do you think it depends on how the game's going, or would you expect it to be from minute one? How do you think it'll go?
Do you know what, Simon? I think again. Do you know what? With this being Manchester United, like what happened when I was with you guys when obviously the El Stakico and the 3-0 and the Levy out chant started. I think having Man U, I don't think we could have picked a better game for this, because you will have the United fans singing "We want the Glazers out" or words to that effect, and they're in 2 finals or have been in a final and another fight. This could literally be, forget fan banter as in "you're crap, you're this, you're that," and sing. This could literally be a chairman off. This could literally be. It could be "We want Glazers out," and we want. It literally
El
could be
Bordico.
that. There we go. There you go. Trademark that now, Sim. Trademark that now as yours. That's what it. Do you know what, mate? That's fucking genius. That is genius. That's exactly what it is. It's El Bordico. Simeon, you need to trademark that, and I need to be able to use it. But yeah, this is what it's going to become, isn't it?
Brian?
Okay, well, I've seen that I was in the arena with you guys when it said it. It's all of ours, isn't it? But yeah, this is what it could become. It really could, and let's put it this way: if we go 1-0 down early or the football's poor, it's going to start. It's going to start immediately. I mean, I'm going to put my hands up as soon as the referee blows his whistle to start. I will be screaming, "We want Levy out" from the get-go. It's up to other people if they join me or want to join me. If you don't, you don't. You do, fantastic. If it's a slow start, it will get louder. If they score, it will get louder. If it's a really bad performance, I think you could hear it like what we've been hearing when people were singing Pochettino. I'm thinking it could be that loud, or I'm hoping, because it doesn't matter what people have got to remember. One result, one good performance does not wipe the slate clean, and that's what people have got to remember.
Brian, for anyone looking to get involved tomorrow, do you want to give people the details of where to be and when? Yeah,
well, listen, like I said, the Twitter or the artwork or flyer for it, whatever you want to call it, has been all over Twitter and social media. I'll be posting it again when I finish work at 5:30. We have said we're going to be there from 5:30. I've actually taken a half day off work to make sure I can get there to help set things up. Myself, Ryan, Graham, and a few of the others from the group are going to get there about 3:30ish. Have our pre-match meal or pre-protest meal, shall I say, of good old Chick King. Go get all the banners that we need to get from everywhere. Start setting them up about 4, half 4. We've said on the flyer 5:30 is when it starts. We'll be there from 4:30 setting up. And when we say 5:30, doesn't mean you have to be there for 5:30. And if you can't get there till later, you've missed anything. We will be there from 5:30 till, I would say, 7:30. 7:45. It's 8:15 kickoff, and then you got to remember we've got to take the banners down, get them back, or the people aren't going to the game. So from around 4:30ish, we'll be there. I understand people have work or maybe going home from work, pick up the kids if they're bringing their kids, have their evening meal, whatever. But we will be there from 4:30 doing what we do. I'm just hoping and praying that people do come this time. Obviously, you guys announcing you'll be there is huge, and this is what it's about. There's people that are talking about and saying they're coming down. So the numbers are key. And listen, this is the one shot we got. I think this is it is a televised game. It's a big game, as Simeon rightly said. And Simeon, I think you're now going to be used. El Bordico, I absolutely love it. This is the exact thing. So let's just hope that we get the footfall that looks like people have said there will be. But even if they don't, we'll be there. We'll be there, and we go from there.
Brian, I saw a really good idea on Twitter last night that people were sharing around,
scarves.
and prototypes of scarves and stuff like that. That the Man United fans have shown how to do it perfectly with the green and gold scarves over many years. I mean, you see a green and gold scarf now, you know exactly what that means.
Exactly.
And, you know, and I think the green and gold movement, the scarves really helped bring fans together and to know where everyone stands and stuff like that.
Yep.
So I think it's a really good idea, and I think it's probably the best idea anyone's ever had in terms of this, and I think it's a really good starting block.
What is the idea?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Simeon, I'll show you the picture. I've got the picture here. So basically, there's quite a few of them that are doing the rounds, but I was speaking to a few people about it already. Let me just I'll get you the picture, and then I'll put it on my camera.
But there's also another one that's just gold and purple, like striped flag, which I think might even hit better. But I think the people that are trying to arrange it, let me just try get the of what they're trying to do.
They're brilliant. I mean, this one was a prototype, the one I just put there. Obviously, if this one goes ahead, they're going to have to remove the Spurs clock rule because a certain Levy will go, oh, you trademark or copyright and blah, blah, blah. But like you said, what we've needed to do is obviously it's very, very hard when those Levy out chants get going or have been and they get drowned out quickly. Ben, you're absolutely right. And the guys that have come up with this brilliant idea is absolutely right. If you see a purple and white,
purple and gold,
you're going to know purple and white, purple and gold, whatever you want. It's going to be synonymous, isn't it? People are going to realise that if you're branding that about or wearing that, what it resembles. And I think it's a very, very clever idea, and it's something that needs to gain some traction. I've seen people saying that they're going to order 1,000 of them and they'll give them out at games for free, or there's people that are saying we'll order it, and I'm not behind it. I've already reached out to a few people and said, listen, if you need us to promote this or put it on our channel and get the link out so people can order, we'll do that. But I think, do you know what, this is the thing, finally ideas are coming out from people that can stick. Like, we have all the banners and the banners are well known and everything, but getting them into the ground is obviously becoming harder and harder. But this is a clear identity, isn't it? This is a clear message, and it doesn't matter what happens, even if you can't get Levy Outs being sung, if you're holding out a purple and white scarf or waving it about purple and white, then you know what it is. You know what it is.
Yeah, so
I think it's a great idea.
What their idea is that bringing out these scarves, obviously it is copying Manchester United, but the reason is because they've done it to so well, right? And it starts with something easy and small, like someone wearing a scarf, but then over time it does become more vocal, and everyone that does have these colours on and have these scarves on will ultimately come together and become more vocal and become more united. And asking people just to protest off the bat and just to start chanting in stadiums without knowing who everyone is around them or knowing what people's feelings are, it does become a bit hard. And I mean, me and you have witnessed that inside stadiums with fights breaking out everywhere and stuff like that. And I just feel like if it does start with something small like that, it's got the potential to grow faster than maybe protests and maybe, just the small chanting in the stadium.
So, I mean, the good thing is this is an additional thing. This is another bow to the arrow, isn't it? The protesting, regardless of what people think of the numbers that it's got and how some people want to try and belittle and troll people that have protested and said, oh, look, what are you achieving with 20? Well, with the fake numbers, and sometimes it has been as little as 20, but for a group that's as little as 20 to get into the Sun, the Guardian, the Times, the Mail, the Sun, the Mirror, get onto Sky News, BBC, worldwide channels, worldwide media, not bad for 20 odd people. But like you said, Ben, when it comes to it, and Sim, you have this scarf. Let's just say it starts now, and then the end of the season comes, and we have another summer of disappointment. You watch at the beginning of the season how many of those scarves will be bought, and it'll be like, right, that's it, here we go. It will just the scarf. I think the scarf thing is, like you said, it's also, as you said, Ben, it's a form of identity. Like you said, if you're sitting around like a block of 20, 30 people, and over 15, 20 of them have got the purple and white scarf, you know, right, if I start a Levy out charm, I know for a fact, or a Levy whatever, there's a group of people around me that will sing along with me, that will help get traction, that will help move it around the stadium. So I honestly, I am so for this idea, and fair play to the people that have thought of this. I know, like we said, it's Man U that have done this and done it well, but the people of Tottenham, the Tottenham Hotspur fans that are doing this, fantastic. Like I said, the artwork that we do for the protest now, which also used to take a lot of grilling because of the way it was spelt or whatever, it wasn't grammatically correct. Well, I had someone who wishes to remain anonymous message me on Twitter and say, Brian, listen, I love what you're doing and and the group you're with. I can't get to the protest because of location, but every single week I will print one of these off for you free of charge. And he goes, that's my way I can help you guys and anything else you need. So there's people now doing things outside of protesting that want to help the protests, and these scarves could become a huge thing of it, a huge thing.
And a scarf idea is something that kind of everyone can get involved in. I mean, not everyone is comfortable protesting. Not everyone is comfortable leading chants and singing inside the stadium, this kind of stuff. So, I mean, a scarf is just something on the face of things at the beginning stages that everyone can get behind, isn't it?
Yeah, and of course, mate, come winter, it'll keep you warm. It's got multiple facilities, multiple benefits. So yeah, get your scarves. But you're right. This is the thing. This is what you got to remember. There are people that want to protest but don't feel comfortable. Whether it's the 20 of us, or it could be 200, it could be 2,000. Some people just don't feel comfortable doing that, but they want to contribute. What other way can I contribute? Well, that's a huge thing. It's a huge thing, and this could be something that gets a lot more attention in another way. It'll be great. So fair play to everyone that thought of it. Let's get these rolled out, and let's start getting them in the stadium.
All right, big up, Brian. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow, and
I
have a
cannot
good rest
wait,
of the
boys.
day. And up
That's
the
not
Man
Brian.
City
I would.
tonight.
Yeah, come on, Man City, let's do it. And as always, Levy out.
Big up, Brian. Have a good day at work. We shall see you soon. Is that it for today? All right, we ended off in a bang with Brian Daigle, but that is our match preview stream for you guys. Predicted lineup and Mason's press conference will be on the way. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
Come on, you Spurs.